Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of Action Awareness, I want to talk about Juiced Up, an action of the Cyborg Apes. I love this faction, as well as this action, which is definitely a candidate for adding the most power in a single action play. Juiced Up adds 2 power for every action on a minion, including itself. At its worst, it's an upgrade, but quickly has the potential to scale upward. As a result, it should really be played as a terminal action to finish off a base. This raises an interesting question. When should you actually play the card? It's really hard to do a video on Juiced Up without turning it into a general purpose guide for the Cyborg Apes, but this should show you just how synergistic they are and how crucial Juiced Up is to their strategy. I'm going to be making this point a lot, but if I had to summarize winning Smash Up in one word, it would be efficiency. Using the right amount of cards appropriately to maximize your points. 4 Zapbots and a Microbot Alpha to win Jungle Oasis probably isn't the right move. The Cyborg Apes have to deal with this problem, and Juiced Up is a major culprit. The Cyborg Apes are known for playing actions on minions with a total of 8. So who is the runner-up in terms of quantity? If you guess fairies, you'd be wrong. They only have 5, while the Changer Bots also have 8. But most factions have 1 or 2 and several have none, so let's say that your partner faction will supply an average of 2 for a total of 10 in your deck. This means that Juiced Up can supply 20 power if you use them all, but that would obviously be a waste unless you are going for factory 4361337. Is it bad that I've got that base number memorized? Anyway, even then, I might question it. But using it by itself is also a waste. It might be tempting to make a general rule that you find the best fit that you can make with this card. How can I reach the breakpoint of a base, exceeding it by as few as possible, while still leaving buffer for possible specials, assuming my opponents have any? If I'm going to go over the breakpoint but have a chance to break the base now, is it worth it to use Juiced Up to secure first place? Like many questions in Smash Up, the answer is, it depends. And if you have the right cards, my answer is probably. For a faction centered around actions, the Cyborg Apes are deceptively driven by their minions, and I found that my game plan for my minions really influences the use of my actions, particularly Juiced Up. Consider the case of the Baboom, which you have 3 copies of. They each have a talent to play an extra action directly on that minion, which can maximize your action plays per turn. Ironically, this minimizes your Juiced Up output, because you'd be spreading the actions across several minions. Furious George gets more power for each action, but suffers from the same problem. Maximizing one minimizes the other. Cyberback will eventually get his own King of the Hill video, and I'm really looking forward to that, but for the purpose of this video, let's just assume that we are predominantly playing actions from the discard pile onto him, so as to not worry about the efficiency surrounding Juiced Up. I'll also intentionally try to avoid talking about Cyberback. Instead, the minion who should influence your decisions around Juiced Up the most is Clyde 2.0. If you can get all your actions back, who cares how many you use? This doesn't mean that Clyde should be your Juiced Up target. That honor actually falls to the Baboom. Consider the case of playing 2 Cyber Evolutions. They each add +3 power. This would add 8 power to Furious George in 2 turns versus 6 power to Baboom in 1 turn. This is where card advantage is really important. While it's tempting to make missing uplink an action on your Juiced Up minion, you shouldn't. You'll want cards as long as possible. With Baboom, Juiced Up can provide 8 power in 2 turns in addition to any power supplied by those actions. To avoid power creep, this can be one of the 2 terminal actions. To maximize efficiency, you need to think long term. Factions who can destroy actions really hurt the Cyborg Apes, which is why shielding is so important. Baboom can play 2 shieldings both turns, which makes it and its actions invulnerable since each shielding protects the other as well as the minion. Juiced Up would give 6 power still, but with the 2 shieldings added, you haven't added to power creep at all. You could add 2 Cyber Evolutions the next turn, which would add the same amount of power, but you need to be careful. You don't want to lose all 4 of these actions, as you'd be cutting your juiced up power output in half. What's most important is that the last 2 actions you play are Juiced Up and Flying Monkey. If you invest 6 or more actions in a minion, are you really only going to settle for 1 base? Even after Flying Monkey is gone, Juiced Up might still provide 10 power from the other 5 actions you played on a Baboom. While Furious George has the higher ceiling, Baboom has the higher power output at each turn until you run out of actions. I'm not expecting to play Missing Uplink or Monkey on your back on the target Baboom. With both Cyber Evolutions for 6 power and a Juiced Up for 12 power, that's 21 power from Baboom alone. You still have other minions, even though you aren't playing actions on them, so they will help, particularly on the second base when you lose Flying Monkey and the accompanying 2 power. So where does Clyde 2.0 fit into all of this? I personally believe Clyde 2.0 should be camped on the second base, preferably with a lower breakpoint, waiting to receive your juiced up Flying Baboom. It's even better if you play him on the turn you are breaking a base. Efficiency of turns is almost as important as efficiency of cards, and Juiced Up can provide both. I would almost wait to initiate this combo until you had the right cards, settling for a strategic second place and setting up your 2-base combo. Since you should be able to clearly win 2 bases, even if you lost the other 2 bases with the same distribution, you'd be tied and you'd have all your actions back, waiting to do it again on the next Baboom. But if you don't have Clyde 2.0, you may find yourself needing to do more with less. Even if you win 2 bases, you've exhausted all of your actions on minions. It's really hard to pass up that extra power from the Furious George, which makes it less necessary to play as many actions to get the optimal juiced up burst. But you need time to play them or ways to play those actions, so what partner should you use? If you guess fairies, this time you'd be correct. Not because they have extra action plays, because they do, but because they have a specific skill set that plays perfectly into juiced up strategy, self-transferring actions. Leaf Armor and Ladybug can transfer themselves over to Furious George, giving him +3 power, as well as 2 power from the Leaf Armors and 6 more power for juiced up for a total of 11. But how do you play all those actions? On Baboom, of course. This approach has the added benefit of not making it clear who the actual target is. 3 transferable actions, a regular action juiced up, and a puck action Flying Monkey should really help. You can use your quantity of Baboons to play the additional transferable actions, then send them to your intended target. Of course, the extra actions with Solar Shout would really help as well, but the Changerbot actions don't work all that well with Juiced Up. The 2 touches don't add together, and changing to a gun negates the power of Juiced Up. However, if you line it up with Clyde 2.0, you don't even need the Changerbot actions, they just get in the way and dilute your hand. Instead, you can just create another ultra-powerful Baboom and repeat the cycle again. In my opinion, Juiced Up isn't the type of action that you use to win a base. You use it to win a game, forming an entire strategy around it. This should never be your first action on a minion. 1, you shouldn't expose it like that, and 2, it clearly identifies your target. With the right cards in hand, opponents won't be able to catch up and you'll win 2 bases in a single turn. The biggest takeaway from here is that the quality of play on minion actions matters more than the quantity, as we saw with the Changerbots and the fairies. If you have any form of action renewal, your job is even easier. After all this, I am really on a Cyborg Ape kick and I need to play them at my next convenience. This could have easily been a Flying Monkey video because the 2 cards work so well together. But for me, Juiced Up is the Cyborg Ape endgame. How do you view it? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.